Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Marc Brunet, and he is an amazing artist who currently is working for Blizzard, and he has a YouTube page, um, uh, youtube.com/blueflay, or
Yeah.
is there any numbers behind that?
Oh, actually, yeah. It's just two zeros. Somebody,
Okay,
somebody stole my name. My
yeah,
name.
blueflay00 because some jerk stole his name.
Whoever,
um,
I'll find you.
I'll cut you. um, so yeah, hi, Mark.
Hey, what's up,
Thanks,
man?
thanks for joining me today.
Of
And
course.
yeah, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty great. Just got back from work, so yeah, and yeah, I got asked by you to do an interview, so I'm more than happy to do so. Uh, yeah, been a fan of your YouTube page for a long time, so it's a great honor.
Uh, well, I've known you for a long time too, and I was amazed that
I've
you're
known
making
I've known you
YouTube
for
videos.
longer.
I don't think so. I've known Blueflay for a really long time. I was
We're
like,
gonna do. We're gonna
wow,
do this.
yeah, we're gonna do this. um, so anyway, yeah, getting to the interview, I want to get to all the cool stuff you're doing right now. But to begin with, how did you start? How did you get into art in the first place?
Well, as probably as a lot of artists, I started very young. When I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was draw, draw, and draw, and I've been doing that throughout school. So any boring classroom was perfect for me because I could whip out the sketch pad and just go ahead and draw. And yeah, I mean, at first it was only pencil drawing, so nothing too crazy, but it was a lot of it, and I really liked it. So I knew that was something I wanted to do in my life, um, but I wasn't too sure. So hey, whatever. I did science as that was my that's what I did in school, science, and then at some point I'm like, screw this, so I quit, and I went into an art program uh, for a year that I quit also, and then 3D animation program that I quit also, and throughout this whole time I was learning Photoshop, I was drawing more and more. I had opened DeviantArt page, and of course all the feedback, all the people seeing my stuff was suddenly something that I had never experienced. So that was really a big drive for me to do more and more and more, and I was really addicted to just keep drawing and painting and doing that stuff all the time. And yeah, after 1 year of 3D animation school, I got a job interview. I got a job offer, and
Wow.
that's what I've that's what I've been doing since then, basically.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna have to backtrack real quick. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what were you drawing when you were a kid? What did you like to draw? What was inspiring
Uh,
you?
I used to copy a lot of Dragon Ball, so
Right.
that was a big part, and any kind of comics, so a lot of Marvel stuff, a lot of Wolverine, Spider-Man, Batman, that kind of stuff. But yeah, mostly Dragon Ball. I was a huge fan of that, and it was simple enough so that I could copy it from memory, and yeah, that's really how it started, pretty much.
Awesome. And where was this? Uh,
That was, what do you mean? Where
where were
where my
you?
life was at that
Yeah,
point?
yeah. No, no, no. You as location.
Okay, yeah, it was. I was back in Canada in
Right,
Montreal. That's
right.
where I'm from. Now I'm in Irvine, California. So ran away from the cold to come here.
Awesome. And you mentioned some art programs that you quit. Was that in high school or was that after?
That was college.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I've never been a fan of school from the beginning. Um, but my parents taught me that it was something I had to do, and then once I get through it, then I can do whatever I want. So That's what I did with high school. Got good grades. I was a good student, and then the second I was on my own, then screw that.
Right. So what was it particularly that turned you off to the schools?
Uh, it always seemed like anything that I learned in school was something that I'd seen before on the internet. I
Right.
felt like the web was such a better teacher for everything that yeah, the time I spent in school seemed like almost a waste of time. And yeah, I felt like I would learn if I spent the exact same time outside the class and in front of a computer. I would learn a lot more, and that's what I would do whenever I went home. And yeah, that's kind of how I taught myself.
Okay, so were you doing 3D now before you started Photoshop or at the same time?
So that came a lot later. I started doing Photoshop when I was 13. So I'm 27 now. It's a long time ago. Um, but before Photoshop was more for websites because I used to do a lot of that too. I think I did my first Photoshop drawing. So I used to, you do the pencil art, and then you scan it. That was the old way, and then you paint over it in Photoshop. And I think the first time I did that was around 18, maybe.
Hmm.
So 4 years after starting Photoshop, I got good enough with it, and I had a tablet at that point. So yeah, that was my first try, I think.
And how is it adjusting to the tablet?
It's I use I could show you actually. I'll show you that later, but it might be interesting for some people to see. But I did a lot of art with mouse only,
Oh,
um, and it was. I mean, the jump in quality you probably wouldn't notice right away because well, I wasn't that great to begin with, anyways, back then, and I didn't. I don't know, like the tablet process, the tablet learning process was a little bit weird to me. Like it didn't feel intuitive. It didn't feel quite right. Even though coming from the mouse, you would think that it's a lot better. But yeah, I don't know. It took me a couple months to get used to it.
okay,
It
cool.
felt I felt like it was an amazing tool. I knew the potential. I just yeah, I wasn't good at it, and it was kind of frustrating at first.
Hmm. Okay, and then you went to a school to learn 3D,
Yeah.
and how did you find that?
Well, so like I said, I did 1 year in fine arts, and that was actually to get me the grades to get into the 3D program because it was based on grades, and I had left my science. I had left I think mid-year in my science program. So after that, all my exams I just skipped. So I had zero. So obviously I couldn't get in there. So I had to do my time in fine arts, and yeah, my grades went way up, and I could finally get into the 3D program because that was initially my goal. Um, but yeah, so there it was. I think it was a year and a half that I spent there. The first year was 2D animation, and
Okay.
then after that it was 3D animation, and yeah, it was the same school, so the whole thing was at the same school. But yeah, I don't know. I felt 3D was so mysterious. Like I had seen, I could at that point be satisfied with whatever I was doing on 2D, and then I found this thing that I can actually download this program and create all these things in 3D and see them move, and yeah, that was like this new world that I had no idea that I could do, and suddenly it was accessible to me. So that got my interest.
That's great. So you didn't have that because I've heard sometimes with 2D artists when they go into 3D they can't really adjust to not drawing and using the mouse and just sitting in front of the computer all day.
Yeah, I don't know. It was I had so sitting in front of the computer all day was never an issue for me.
Right.
That's where I'm comfortable. That's what I like. But no, it was because at that point I was doing a lot of Photoshop stuff, so doing 3D. there's still Photoshop involved, right, for all the textures and all this kind of stuff. But no, it felt kind of just like an extension, a different tool to achieve same results, kind of. Uh, yeah, so at that point, I knew that that was probably what I wanted to do with my life,
Right.
do 3D rather than 2D. 2D, I would keep that more as a hobby, I guess, so that
Okay.
I'm never told, what to do.
Okay, so were you doing, you mentioned you joined DeviantArt. Were you doing DeviantArt commissions or anything like that?
Yeah.
Or Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah. That paid my lunches for a while. I I think it was maybe, yeah, 10 years ago. I started doing that. Um, and yeah, at that time I was still living at my parents, so it was just my money for candies and whatever.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I did a bunch of that in DeviantArt when I got a little bit more popular there. Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I have that part of my, I guess, career to where I am right now was pretty awesome. DeviantArt's a great place to start. It's a great place to get exposed to a lot of different things and to make some money. Um, so yeah, no, it was a pretty good time.
So, did you have to actively promote yourself, or is it that people just drop by your page and then you create like a commission thing that says, "Hey, I'm taking commissions."
Yeah, I got lucky, I guess. There was one painting that I did that I got a daily deviation at daily deviation, yeah, at some point, and that drove a lot of traffic to my page. And from now on, it was instead of having maybe 50 hits a day, it was 200, 300 hits a day. And then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lose this momentum. And every week at least there was a new painting up there. So that's what really started the whole thing. That's what's really started the ball rolling. But yeah, it was I mean, bit of a luck, I guess.
Okay, and then so then when you took 3D in school, how long was it between finishing school and then landing a job with 3D?
So to recap, I did 1 year in science, well, half a year in science, and then the other half of the year I was working outside of school. Did a year in fine arts and then a year and a half in 3D, and that was during the second year in 3D that I got a job offer, and it was all thanks to my DeviantArt page again. Seriously, this thing got me all my jobs so far. I never really had to apply anywhere. The people just find me there, and then I guess they like whatever I do, and they contact me, and yeah, that's how I got my first job.
Wow.
And I worked at the first studio I was working at for for 2 years. Before the first 6 months, I was still in school, and so they let me work part time. And I mean, at that point, while I was doing part-time work, I'm like, this is what I'm going to school for, and I'm already
Yeah.
here, so that's the point. So I just said, yeah, I'm out of here, and left school, and it's a pretty great moment in my life.
Wow. So were you freelancing or you actually worked for that studio?
No, I worked for that studio.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
So yeah, up until then, I had been doing, yeah, like you say, a lot of commissions. I did some comic book coloring also. That was fun. Um, yeah, and then when I landed the job, I kind of dropped everything else because that was paying me a lot more for the time, and
Right.
yeah.
So the pieces, or the piece, I don't know which one, they saw on DeviantArt, was that a 2D piece or a 3D piece?
Yeah, it was. I always landed my jobs as a 2D artist and somehow transitioned to 3D. So
Oh,
that
okay.
happened with my job in Montreal and with my job at Blizzard currently also.
Okay. So your job at Blizzard right now is character artist?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I do any kind of any kind of characters you see in the game. So right now, I'm working on a StarCraft 2 team. I'm working on the StarCraft, the latest, the last expansion for the StarCraft universe, and then also on Blizzard All Stars, which is a little game that it's coming out at some point. It hasn't been announced yet when it comes out, but yeah. So I'm kind of going back and forth on those two teams, and what I do is anything that's character related. So yeah, I mean, when you play StarCraft during story mode, for example, you have those big characters in the screen that are talking to you or that you can interact with. Those are the characters I model, and I do a little bit of 2D, but it's mostly 3D work.
Okay. So when you model it, you don't do the design. Someone else does the design, and then you create
Most of
the
the time,
3D model. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I
Um,
mean, I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say I always have a little bit to say. So whatever. That's what's cool with my job is that I can put my own touch also. So we get kind of like it's never a really polished drawing. It's gonna be like a sketch that that I'm handed in, and then I get to model from that. So most of it is up to me, like how it works and the polish and everything. But yeah, the idea most of the time comes already done.
Cool. Something I have heard from artists who work in both 2D and 3D is that 3D taught them a lot more about perspective. It really helped them in their 2D perspective. Is that what you
Yeah,
found?
yeah, it has. Yeah, especially doing characters. Even when I draw, I don't do a lot of environments, mostly characters. But for stuff like anatomy, I I guess what it does is that it forces you to research, to do a lot more research. So when you simplify shapes, when you draw, you get to a point where you're comfortable with whatever simplification you have nailed down, and you always kind of do the same thing. When you do 3D, you have to look at it from any possible angle, and then you start to see stuff that doesn't work. So you have to go look at anatomy books and make sure everything is right in place. And you do that a couple times, and at some point, from just even seeing the model from different angles, it just gets in your head, and yeah, it helps a lot. To anybody that does only 2D, I would definitely recommend to try. I mean, get ZBrush or try Alpha ZBrush and play around with it, because it's definitely a big help.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I wanted to explore your journey. So you mentioned Dragon Ball Z, so that's like Akira Toriyama, right? And then
Yeah.
could you explain your journey from like the artist you started to get into, what kind of art you started to like to this point?
Yeah. Okay, I guess. Yeah. So let's say it started with Dragon Ball. I mean, before that, it was. I guess I was too young, so it was like stick figures, interesting stick figures, if you want. But yeah, so from there, I guess I got that was my introduction to anime.
Mm.
So I started to watch a lot of that, and I guess that's kind of what drove my style. And I always really liked, I guess, stuff that's anatomically correct. So some animes were a little too far off. The stick figures, didn't quite like that, but there was always a flavor that I liked in their design. So I always kept some of that. So I watched a lot of animes. I still do. And after after a while, trying to think. There was also a lot of so I was saying that I was on DeviantArt, right? And that was a big inspiration. So I had a bunch of guys that I followed on there that really influenced me with their style, and it's stuff that I picked from each of them that I sort of packaged, and that was my own style. I think that's what most people do, but yeah, DeviantArt was big part of developing my style, and yeah, I always liked American comics and animes, and I kind of tried to mixed both and yeah, developed techniques, stole techniques from this person, that person, and that's kind of how it evolved. And
So,
it's still pretty much the same today.
did you ever find inspiration from concept artists or guys on that side, the more Photoshop side of?
Yeah. So I was, yeah, I looked at stuff from DeviantArt. It was always painting, so it was never really. Well, it was also drawings, but yeah, it was always your very concept. So stuff that like paintings you look at, and it's a world on its of its own. That always really impressed me. And what I would steal from that is just the brush strokes. How do they get the effect with so few brush strokes? Try to steal their technique by just reverse back engineering whatever they did, and it was yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, for anatomy, for I guess for the look of my characters, the simplification, I took part here and there from different animes, anything that was a little bit closer to reality, and of course a lot of just anatomy books, and kind of merged just the two, and yeah, it's pretty much my style, I guess.
Yeah, you got like a really cool hybrid style. It's sort of Western, sort of Eastern. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, it's awesome. I also love the colors you pick. How did you get into understanding color?
Oh, that's a tough one. Uh, I can explain pretty much everything except colors, because I really don't know. Again, it's something that I was looking at different paintings and kind of understanding, okay, that works, that doesn't work, and somehow with my YouTube channel now, I'm trying to understand it more so that I can explain it better.
Right.
So now I have a better understanding of, okay, this is what I picked up and why. But yeah, I guess it just started with me looking at different paintings and sort of memorizing different color palettes that worked for me, that were appealing, and then trying to kind of mimic them in my own paintings. And yeah, it's just kind of a mental library of different color palettes that I think look good, and yeah, just try to do the same on my own, try to remember, okay, this doesn't work together, this works well, and yeah, from there, pretty much the same as when you're learning anatomy. You learn, parts by part, and then you
Yeah.
assemble it. And then, yeah.
Hmm. So how did you then, or why did you even get into YouTube?
Uh, well, I've always loved to teach, um, and for some reason I don't know why, but I never realized that I could do that with YouTube. So I was doing that a lot outside of outside of the I guess outside of work, even at work a little bit. So mentoring the new guys that come in, uh, teaching my friends or my brothers new techniques, or yeah, it's just something I like to do. And when I saw, I mean, your channel, for example, and other ones too, and I realized, oh, this is something that I could totally do, and I have no idea why I haven't thought of doing that before. And yeah, I got into it and thought it was a lot of fun. So that's pretty much where it came from.
Yeah, and you've been doing amazing tutorials. I really liked your tutorial on the figure,
Yeah,
um,
thanks, dude.
and yeah, and a lot of your videos just completely amazing. So I'm really happy whenever artists I admire make YouTube channels, because it's like, ah, sweet, I get to see how they do what they do. Um, so that's really great. Um, so I wanted to ask you if you could give us a little bit of a behind the scenes of what a day in the life at the studio is like.
Yeah. Um, well, like most jobs, every day is different, but I guess today was a pretty good example, so I'm going to tell you about that. So I get to work at around 9, 10, and in that ballpark, and from there, if I have a task like I did today, Normally the tasks I have last anywhere from like a week to a month to maybe more. So most of the time I'm already in the process of working on something. So I just get to work and then pick up where I left at the previous day. Throughout the day, aside from just in this case just modeling in ZBrush, there's going to be art meetings where we show whatever we're working on, and then it's always, I don't think I ever sit in my desk more than an hour or two at a time. There's always people walking around and trying to see whatever you're working on. I do the same. I go look at all the other guys and see what cool stuff they're working on, and yeah, we just try to sort of get inspired by each other, and coffee breaks here and there. Yeah, it's pretty. I wouldn't say it's like vacation, but it's pretty nice.
So, what did you think it would be like, and then what did it turn out to be like, and what was better than you expected? What was worse? What things what's the advantage also of working in a studio as opposed to someone who's perhaps working freelance?
Well, to answer the last question, I guess for me, I need some sort of routine in place. Otherwise, I just lose it. So I start, like, my schedule gets completely retarded to where I'll go to bed at 5 in the morning and wake up at 3 p.m. and it just gets really messy. So I need some sort of structure to my life, and this I guess it's the only way I've found so far that works well for me. I know I have a lot of friends that used to do freelance and they preferred that as opposed to working in a studio, just because it gives you a lot of freedom, right? You can work from anywhere you want, and if you actually have a lot of discipline, you can do your stuff on time. You can have a decent schedule, so it's probably better. So I wish I could do that because it would allow me to do things that I can't. But to go back to the first thing you asked, which was
I was just asking what your expectations of going into a studio and then the reality.
Yeah. So, well, I've worked at two different studios in my life. So the first one was in Montreal, and now at Blizzard. My expectation going in was that I was gonna sit at my desk and draw all day and get sometimes feedback from the art director that would just swing by, oh, change that, and I'd be okay, and I'd change it, and then go take my illustration, give it to the modeler, and then jump into another one. It's pretty much like that. At least it was pretty much like that my first job, except it's diluted with a lot of breaks here and there, a lot of walking around, a lot of just chatting, browsing the internet for more inspiration, and like it's an 8-hour work day, but probably not 8 hours is worked on that day on most days. So there's yeah, because it's I don't know. I think it's just a creative thing. Whenever you're in a creative position, you need to sort of help your brain take a break, and because it might not sound like it, but it's very intense for your brain to always try to look for new stuff and think of new ideas, and just need a breather here and there. And when I moved to Blizzard, it was the same except better. So. I was suddenly surrounded by all my favorite artists, all the artists that I've been, looking up to for my entire childhood. I mean, right now I'm working right next to Samwise, so I mean, I used to look at the Warcraft 2 booklets and copy the art in there, and now he's my art director and he's sitting right next to me. So it's pretty humbling, but at the same time, it's pretty. They expect a lot of us, and as long as we deliver, we can kind of take breaks whenever we want and just goof around. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty relaxed environment.
Have you ever had a time where you just can't deliver, where your brain sort of is dead and
Yep, and that's why I don't do any more 2D. Um, I so when Blizzard hired me, it was I had that at the first job too, but it was even more even more intense at Blizzard because the pressure was so much higher, and I had to create concepts for a brand new game that I had no idea about, and I had really never done that before, where I'm surrounded by people that are way, 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 way bit better than me at that point, and I need to create stuff that will match their level first, and then create stuff that's creative enough that it's that they can use the idea for the actual game. So yeah, it was like two different things that needed to be like way, way, way up here, and I lasted I think 2 months. And after that, I switched to 3D because it was 3D is a lot more, not brain dead, but when there are a lot of stages in the creation of a 3D character where you don't have to think too much. It's just more like work that you do. You know what you need to do, so it's not much thinking about it. Just do it, as opposed to yeah, painting and concepting where you need to be constantly finding something cool, and each line has to have a meaning, and that got tiring, and I couldn't do it.
Okay, well, yeah, it is really, really draining when you're coming up with ideas. Even for me, when I do storyboards and things, it can be really intense, and it's like, oh wow,
Yeah,
I have no energy.
yeah, exactly. It's like you're. It feels like your job is so important because everything you're like the first step, right? And if the first step is wrong, then everything that comes after that is probably going to be wrong as well. So you
Right.
can't, you can't mess it up. It's so much pressure. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so what are your plans from here on with both your YouTube and your career?
Hmm. Great question. Well, with my YouTube, hopefully my page will be as awesome as yours, and I have a lot of traffic, and I'll be able to reach you know a lot more people, because that's pretty much the goal of it, right? Teaching something, you want as many people to see it. Um, if it's gonna help them, why not? But yeah, so I'm gonna keep on doing that because I really enjoy it. And career-wise, I really thought that getting to Blizzard was going to be the final step. Where after that, trying to think of other companies where I could go, it's never quite an upgrade. It's more like it's
Right,
different, but kind of
right.
on the same level. Um, so yeah, I really don't know. For now, I'm seeing myself here for a few more years, at least until I ship all the games I'm working on. And after that, maybe go freelance. I'm a dad now, so my schedule is probably a little bit better now. I'm probably a little bit better at managing my time, so maybe I should give that a shot. But yeah, for the next few years, definitely staying here.
All right. And do you have any parting advice for young artists who are starting out? Maybe they're confused. Maybe they're thinking of going to school or not going to school. They're not quite sure. Maybe they're having some pressure from their parents.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice you could give them?
Yes. So I think the the thing I wish I knew, well, that I kind of found out by myself, just by doing it, was that you you really, 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 really have to love doing art to be able to do that as a job and not be in the streets. Um, and that means that if you love it enough, you'll be able to spend 4, 5, 6 hours every day working on it. And if that's you, then I don't know. Like to me, it's cool. Didn't do anything. I know some people need. more of a guidance for that. They just don't know where to start, for example. Um, so school isn't bad. It's just don't pay a lot of money for it. So there's a way to to teach yourself or to learn a lot of good material without paying too much money, and that's really my big thing with this is I don't understand people that go to school, especially here in California, or in the United States, where you get out of school and you have 100,000 worth of student debts, which makes no sense. It's gonna, I mean, sure, if you land a nice job, you get a decent paycheck, but I mean, paying that back is you're basically a slave for the rest of your days, and it'll just the love of painting or doing art is just gonna go out the window, and you'll regret it. And so, if you can find a way, basically, to learn without spending a lot of money, and there are a lot of ways to do that. And hey, you and me, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're doing our part, trying to teach as many people with tutorials, and I would definitely suggest you, don't spend a lot of money. Try to find something online, or online courses, or there are various websites that you can find what to invest in to spend your money in the right direction, so that you won't be poor, and you'll still maintain your love for art.
Yeah, I think it's.
I mean, if you love it, you'll find a way. If you love it enough, you'll find a way.
Yeah, it's so important to learn how to learn, like how to cultivate that skill, and how to, as you mentioned, you found out so much stuff online, and sometimes when people ask me, how do I do this, how do I do that, it's like it's a Google search, man. Like it's all there. So
if you're hungry for it, you'll always find it. It's just you'll find it in different places. Some places will charge you a lot for it. Some others will be for free. So it's just a matter of looking, hard enough to find the best deals.
Yeah. So like just be like a hungry hippo and put a lot of balls in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Marc, for this wonderful interview.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure.
So real quick, can you? How do people find you?
Well, you can find me on DeviantArt, where I put all my stuff, basically. So it's bluefley.deviantart.com, or on YouTube at youtube.com/bluefley00. So don't forget the 2 zeros, otherwise you're gonna land on I don't know where, but it's not gonna be me. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Great. Well, thanks so much. And I'm sure my viewers learned a lot. And I really hope all of the people who are watching my channel, please check out Marc's channel, because you will learn so much, and so much more than I can offer, because this guy's just way ahead.
You're being too modest, but thank you.
Awesome. All right. So take care, Marc, and bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Sycra. All right, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.